welcome to Yarn Doc. I'm Ellen, and today we have a yarn review. And I'm just going to be honest, this one has been done completely backward. I started by making my object, then I did the washing and drying samples and the frogging test and all of that, and I went to put it all together and realized I don't have any introduction. I don't have anywhere where I've told you about what the yarn is or where it comes from or what it is we're looking at. So here I am to do that. I guess I didn't have to tell you that. You would never know, except I will be wearing this exact same thing in the conclusion. And I don't want you thinking that I made an entire blanket in an afternoon. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a yarn from TEDi. It is technically two yarns, but they're the same yarn. The solids have a different name than the variegateds. So the solids are called Soft Cloud, and the variegateds are called Soft Stripe. Why they're called Soft Stripe, I don't know. None of the ones that I have seen are striping. It's okay, we'll go with it. They are 50-gram skeins, and for some reason in the stripes you get 55 meters, but in the solids you only get 53 meters. Again, I don't know why, because they really are the same weight of yarn. I've used them both in the same project and they are virtually interchangeable, so I'm not sure why there is that difference. Soft Cloud is €1 and Soft Stripe is €1.55 if there's not some kind of bargain special offer. They are 100% polyester and made in China. It says on here, I'm just going to make sure that they are the same. I mean, they're the same yarn. They should be the same, but you know. Is anything ever the way it should be? I don't know in life. But they are saying, 30 degrees. Okay, the solids say no dryer, but the stripe says dryer is okie dokie. That's interesting. You'll see the washer and dryer test up next. That's coming. Don't iron. That's agreed in both. They're recommending a 5 to a 6 hook or needle on the stripes and a 5 on the solids. But you get less meterage in the solids than in the stripes, so wouldn't that indicate that this should have the bigger hook recommendation? Consistency, people. Engaged chart in the stripes, they're saying you get 1 extra stitch. So 12 stitches in a 10 by 10 as opposed, 13 in the stripes, 12 in the solids. Both say 20 rows in a 10 by 10. Well, spoiler alert, I used them both in the same project and I found no difference between the two yarns. So there is that. This is the TEDi brand, the DIY handmade, and I'm not sure that there is much else I can tell you. I will let you know if you've never shopped for yarn at TEDi or if you're unfamiliar with it, or for those of you who are watching from outside of Europe, TEDi is like our version of the dollar store, Dollar Tree, Dollarama, whatever that kind of, probably what they used to call the nickel and dime store back even before my time. But the concept is sort of, it's everything for €1 and almost nothing in it is €1. I think that's true though also in the dollar stores, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I lived in North America. anywhere in North America. But I kind of, at least by the time I moved, was getting that impression. There's nothing in these stores that still costs the dollar. But that's what TEDi is. But when I lived in the States, Dollar Tree didn't have yarn on a regular basis. I understand that now that's changed and they do. And it's pretty consistent. It's the same yarn all the time. I could be wrong about that. Again, as I said, when I lived there, that just didn't exist in the Dollar Tree. TEDi has yarn all the time, but it's not always the same yarn and it's not always the same colors. So there are some yarns that are fairly consistent. Like, for example, there's almost always some soft cloud. But I can't go to TEDi and say, I'm going to go in and buy some black soft cloud. No. That week, they might only have neon green soft cloud, or they might only have 4 different kinds of soft stripe. It's totally random. Sometimes colors will come back and stay pretty consistently in rotation. Sometimes the colors they sell out pretty quickly. And then totally different colors come in. So in the colors that I use in the blanket, since then I've seen the black at least one more time, and pretty consistently the gray. The other colors that are actually in my blanket, I haven't seen again. So that's sort of how TEDi works. So it's helpful to know a little bit about the yarns, because if you see something you like, you have to jump, and you have to jump project size for the yarn. It's just the way that works. You use it or lose it, or buy it or forget it kind of thing. So that's the introduction to the yarn. Let me show you some samples and then wash it and dry it for you. So my friends, this one is going to be a little bit difficult, a little challenging to see about shrinking, because if I get close in here for you, you'll see that it's not quite 10 centimeters, but it is more than 9.5. So, and I will tell you, I wasn't just being lazy and leaving these ends out. I had woven the first one in, and by the time I was finished the square, it was completely out again. So I did give up and then was a little bit lazy, but yeah, that's why there's ends sticking out. It is a real problem with this yarn, and I'll talk more about that when I talk about the finished object and the making it process. But that's it. It is about 9.5 centimeters. Yeah, I'm going to say 9.5 centimeters. This one I'm going to leave as is. This one I'll put in the washer. This one I'll put in the washer and dryer, and we will see what happens. How that changes them. I'll go do that. I'll be right back with the results. I washed them. I dried one. So this is the original, and this here went in the washer, and this one went in the washer and the dryer. Washed them using the wool setting on my washing machine, and then dryer, just normal dryer cycle. I think if I took the stitch marker off, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the one that wasn't touched, the one that was just in the washer, and the one that was in the washer and dryer. As you can see here, they started out at 9, somewhere between 9 and 9.5 centimeters, and they are still Well, that one obviously because it wasn't touched, but they are still right around that. The one from the dryer might have shrunk sort of, 0.2 of a centimeter, but I would say no more than that. So actually washed and dried pretty well, much better than I was expecting. So that is the results of that. Frogs, no problem, but it does get a little bit, like if you look at this one that's come out of the dryer, you see it gets that, shadows. Filming at night because kids are in bed and I had the chance, but it does mean I get shadows. You get this sort of bumpy texture, and sometimes when I had to rip out, I would get that. But it did frog easily because, well, it's very soft and smooth and silky, and so that was that. And let's take a look at my finished object. This yarn is driving me crazy. I am looking forward to this project ending, not because the yarn is hard to work with. I actually find it very easy to work with and very easy to see my stitches, even though I've done half doubles into the space and not actually into the stitch, just because it gives you a tighter, supposedly gives you a tighter stitch definition with it. I'm moving you all around, I'm sorry, but I want to show you some things. To try to avoid that snaking that can happen with velvet yarn, but I am pretty sure it's going to happen. I don't hate weaving in ends. I do them as I go, and I double lock them and I reverse ways, and I think I'm pretty skilled at weaving in ends. And these were all totally hidden, and they're like everywhere. This is driving me crazy. Crazy. I keep weaving them in. They keep popping out. And it's just because it is such a smooth and silky velvet that it's just going to come out. I don't think this is going to be... Let's put it this way. My grandkids are not going to inherit this blanket. And it's just not... It's not going to happen. Just not going to happen. So I decided I'd change the pattern a little bit and sort of have it, okay, I've got sort of a top start and then this section, which I initially thought was going to be the middle. I don't know why, because I just worked way too far along before I decided to do a middle. But then it transitions and it goes into a regular pattern down. I think the proportions of that is fine. And you can tell I'm done with the project because I was like, I don't think it needs a border. I don't think it needs one. It looks fine. The edging's okay. And both my husband and my mother were like, yeah, I think you should put a border on it. Like, oh, okay. And tells you I'm done with the project. But I guess I'll put a border on it now and the variegated. And then cross it off the list. Wrap it up for Christmas. This finished object is a big one. I made a single bed size blanket with it. You can see I have it in several different colors, and even though the solids have a different name than the variegateds, they're the same yarn. They really are. You can't really see it because it's big. It is very, very big and cozy and soft. So the cozy soft, sorry. The cozy soft are the positives. The big negative, this is what I just saw. Can you see that? That is an end sticking out. Do you know how many times I have woven these ends in just for them to go, hi, I'm back. I'm back. It's me again. I'm frustrated. And I tried. Yes, I have a lot of stripes. So you would think that meant I had a lot of color changes, which is true. But I didn't do my stripe pattern according to a certain number of rows. I did it until the skein finished, because they're only 50-gram skeins. It is the most frustrating part of this yarn for me. Putting that aside, for a velvet yarn, it has pretty good stitch definition. You can see those there. Yeah, the singles are clear, the doubles are pretty clear. This is a Christmas present for my 16-year-old. And really, she wanted a big chunky blanket with stripes. So, big chunky blanket with stripes she gets. She's a texture girl like me. So the very soft velvetiness of it will appeal. I don't expect it to hold up well, and it's because those ends just keep shooting out. When I hold it up like this, I can see 3 more just peeking, but then they worm their way out, and I'm hoping she'll keep it in her bedroom and I won't have to see it, because it just makes it look ratty and unfinished. And right now it should look perfect. It was just finished. My tension was good. I think my style was good, but when the ends stick out, it just kind of makes it look ratty and old, and it's frustrating me. Let's just say I'm not expecting this one to go to the grandkids. It's really hard to say, because everything else about this yarn is pretty good. It's a reasonable price, though they are, like, a skein doesn't go a long way, right? Like, each one of those stripes before the variegation are an entire skein. So you don't get a lot of yardage, meterage for, oh, I've forgotten if it was 1 or 2 euros. I think it was just €1 per skein. So it's not a bad price. It was lovely to work with. I mean, the stuff glides on the hook. It felt great on my hand, because I only use my hands and fingers for tension. And yeah, I could work for hours on it. I often did, when I worked on it, did an entire section. So like the four skeins before taking a break or anything like that. And my hands never felt rough or dried out or anything like that. So it was really nice to work with. I mean, you saw that I didn't. Sorry. It was really nice to work with, and you saw that in my sample granny squares, I didn't weave my ends in, because on the first one I stopped, I wove it in because I like to weave them as I go, and it just was out by the time I'd finished the square. Just in moving the square around, it had come out. So I just don't know what good it is if you want to use anything that you make. And this was just like, these ends all popped out and pulling it out of the bag that I had it in, because I'd put them all in, folded it, put it in a bag, and I pulled it out of the bag to show here, and I'm seeing them already. So that's very difficult. I was able to do those granny squares with Magic Circle, and that worked out okay. Though it does, in this end that's popped out here, where is it? And use it. You can see that it does that, you know, this shedding thing. Just pull them right off. And, you know, that helps too, right? So not only is it yarn end sticking out, it's threads. She'll like it. But for how long she'll have it, I don't know. I will show you some, or maybe no, I'll cut that out. How do I give a final grade to it? Because I enjoyed the process of making this blanket. I bought a lot of this yarn because it was so soft and cuddly, and it's TEDi yarn, so you've got to buy it when you see it. And it became clear to me that I wasn't going to have enough in what I originally bought to make it, and I was sort of figuring out the stripe pattern as I went, and so I ended up having to go to several different TEDis and collect sort of what they had, and let's just say that I've ended up with a lot of balls, and some in colors that didn't even make it into the blankets. What I'm going to do with them, I don't know, because I can't see myself making another project in this yarn. Because even though, like, when it's finished, it looks great and it feels wonderful and I enjoyed the making it process, whatever I make is just gonna look ratty, and that bothers me. So what grade do I give this? I think it's gonna have to be a C. Average. It's an average velvet yarn with all the problems of velvet yarn, or that velvet yarn is infamous for. If those tails don't bother you, and some people don't, some people never weave ends in, you'd like this. It's good. It's good yarn for working with, and they've had various colors throughout the time, but again, it's TEDi yarn, so you can't go and say, oh, I'm going to pick up some of the black. Maybe you will. Maybe all they have is neon green. Never know. Maybe they don't even have it at that time. So, though they usually have at least a couple of colors. That's been my experience. But the variegated, for example, sometimes I think I've seen it maybe twice, and it sells out fast because velvet yarn feels nice. But would I give it to a baby? No, I wouldn't, because of those ends. I don't want them to be pulling the fluff off. The ends come out, they pull the fluff off, they eat the fluff, they choke, and, you know, I'm responsible for a catastrophe. So, but is it worse than any other velvet yarn? No. So that's, I'm going with C. I'm going to say it's a perfectly average velvet yarn. And that's all I have to say about that. You can leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments. Tell me if you agree, if you love velvet yarn, do you hate velvet yarn? Are you velvet neutral? I don't know. I love the feel of it. I love working with it. It's that lack of sticky togetherness that just makes me go, no. It's a no from me. Will I buy more? No. What will I do with what I have? No idea. Do you? Let me know. If you could do all the YouTube things, if you haven't subscribed, please do. It's free. It helps me. It doesn't cost you anything. Like it if you like the video. Comment if you have something to say. All that stuff. All that stuff. I feel like I'm dating an algorithm and I'm not sure how well that's going. Oh my goodness. Okay. That's it. That's it for this one. I will hopefully see you next week or on Wednesday or Friday. And in the meantime, friends, happy stitching.